All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to dig into something that is literally the backbone of Pakistan's economy and its people: agriculture. We're going to cover the major crops you absolutely need to know, especially if you're gearing up for your Pakistan studies exams. So, let's get to it.
So you might wonder, how on earth does one system manage to feed a population of over 220 million people and keep the country's biggest industries running? It's a huge question, right? Well, the answer is this fascinating, complex dance between the seasons, the monsoons, and the constant needs of the nation. Let's break it all down. You see, to really get a grip on farming in Pakistan, you first have to understand its heartbeat, its natural rhythm. And that rhythm is all about two distinct growing seasons. These seasons are the bosses. They dictate everything: what gets planted, when it grows, and when it's harvested. First up, you've got the Kharif season. Just think Kharif for the hot summer season. These are the crops planted right when the monsoon rains hit because they are super, super thirsty. We're talking about things like rice and cotton. They grow all summer long and are harvested just before winter arrives. Then, on the flip side, you have the Rabi season. This is your winter lineup. These crops get sown in the cooler months and are harvested in the spring. And the perfect example of a Rabi crop? Wheat. Okay, we've got the seasons down. Now, let's talk about the stars of the show, the crops that literally put food on the table for millions upon millions of people every single day. And leading the pack is the undisputed champion of staple foods in Pakistan: wheat. I mean, this is the main event. As you can see on the map here, it absolutely thrives in the fertile Indus Plain, with Punjab and Sindh being the agricultural powerhouses. And remember, it's a Rabi crop, so it just loves that cooler winter growing season. So what's the secret recipe for growing perfect wheat? Well, it's a little picky. It needs cool temperatures to get started, somewhere between 10 and 20 degrees Celsius. But then, to ripen up and get all golden and ready for harvest, it needs a good blast of heat. Think 25 to 35 degrees. And of course, the ideal setup is flat land with that rich, fertile, loamy soil. So from the winter fields of wheat, let's pivot to the hot, steamy summer paddies of rice. This is a classic Kharif crop. It absolutely loves the heat and the drenching rains of the monsoon season. But here's the thing: rice isn't just a staple food, it's also a massive cash cow for the country. It's a huge export, and I'm sure you've heard of the world-famous basmati rice. And again, Punjab and Sindh are where all the action happens. Now, rice needs a completely different setup from wheat. It craves high heat, anywhere from 20 to 30 degrees. And water? Oh, it needs an unbelievable amount of water. We're talking over 2,000 millimeters, which is precisely why those monsoon rains are absolutely non-negotiable. The best soil for it is something that can hold all that moisture, like a clay soil. Okay, let's just put these two side by side. This is a fantastic way to remember it for your exams. Wheat, the Rabi crop, is all about food security at home. It's about making sure people have food to eat. Rice, the Kharif crop, does that too, but it has a second, crucial job. It's a major export earner. So one is for the plate at home, the other is for the plate at home and for bringing in foreign money. That's a key difference. All right, we've talked about the crops that feed the people. Now let's switch gears and talk about the crops that fuel the factories. These are the cash crops, the ones grown not just for food, but as the essential raw materials for some of Pakistan's most important industries. And leading the charge is the king of fibers itself, cotton. Seriously, this Kharif crop is the absolute lifeblood of Pakistan's massive textile industry. Without a steady supply of cotton, that entire industry grinds to a halt. As you can see, its main growing areas are right there in the heartland, the fertile plains of Punjab and Sindh. So what does cotton need to thrive? Well, it is a total sun worshiper. It wants high temperatures between 25 and 35 degrees Celsius and a good bit of rain. But here's the real make-or-break factor: the harvest. It absolutely requires a dry, frost-free period when it's time to pick the cotton bolls. A little rain at the wrong time? It can be a complete disaster for the crop. And check this out. This quote from the Economic Survey of Pakistan tells you everything. It basically says that even when Pakistan's own cotton harvest falls short, the textile industry is so important it can't afford to slow down. The country actually has to import raw cotton just to keep the mills running. That really drives home how critical this crop is to the national economy. Okay, from fiber, let's move on to something sweet: sugarcane. This giant of a crop is another kharif heavyweight, and it's the essential raw material for the sugar industry. Its cultivation is widespread, covering huge areas in Punjab, Sindh, and even parts of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. And if you thought cotton was thirsty, let me tell you, sugarcane is on another level. It needs a long, hot, and very wet summer to grow tall and juicy. It loves that rich, well-drained, loamy soil. But there's one thing it absolutely cannot handle: frost. One touch of frost and it's game over. That's why it's grown in the warmer plains. So let's compare these two industrial giants for a second. Cotton's main product is fiber for our textiles, right? But it also gives us a pretty useful byproduct in cottonseed oil. Sugarcane's main gig is obviously sugar. But the leftover fiber, which has a pretty cool name, it's called bagasse, doesn't go to waste. It's actually used to make things like chipboard and paper. Pretty resourceful, huh? Okay, so we've covered these amazing crops, but all of them, especially the thirsty kharif crops, need water, and lots of it. Pakistan has a massive, intricate network of canals for irrigation, but there's a dark side, a really big problem. This very system has created two serious environmental challenges that are threatening the farmland itself. The first problem is waterlogging. This is a key term you really need to know. Basically, it's what happens when the soil becomes so completely soaked with water that there's no oxygen left for the plant's roots. They can't breathe. In simple terms, the crops literally drown in the fields. And waterlogging often brings its evil twin along for the ride: salinity. Here's how it happens. Water leaks from old, unlined canals and sinks into the ground. This raises the underground water table. As that water level rises, it dissolves natural salts deep in the soil and pulls them right up to the surface. Then the intense sun beats down, evaporates the water, and leaves behind a hard, white crust of salt. This salt crust poisons the land, making it useless for farming.
And this isn't some minor issue. The scale of this problem is absolutely massive. Roughly 25%, a full quarter, of Pakistan's irrigated land is affected by waterlogging and salinity. That is a staggering amount of farmland being taken out of commission, and it poses a huge threat to the country's ability to grow food. So all of this brings us to the future. We've seen how vital Pakistan's major crops are, but we've also seen the critical challenges that threaten the very land they grow on. The future of farming in Pakistan is really all about finding a balance. The country needs to keep growing enough wheat, rice, cotton, and sugarcane to provide for its people and its industries. But at the exact same time, it has to figure out how to manage its water resources sustainably to protect the land for generations to come. Okay, so let's do a super quick recap of the most important points. 1. Farming in Pakistan is split between kharif, summer crops, and rabi, winter crops. 2. Wheat and rice are the core staple foods. 3. Cotton and sugarcane are the engines of industry. And 4. Waterlogging and salinity are the critical threats that have to be solved for a sustainable future. So, I want to leave you with a big question to think about. For Pakistan's future, what's more important? Should the focus be on developing new, high-tech crop varieties that can maybe resist salt or use less water? Or is the real priority to fix the country's massive water management and irrigation problems? There's no simple answer, but it's the vital question that will shape the future of farming in the nation.